That's because, again, Josiah Thompson this year played nothing like a 5-star.
Right.
You go back in the day. Eric Norwood was a 3-star and played like a 5-star. DJ Swearinger was a 3-star, and he played like a 5-star. So player development is key. And that brings us to point number 2 today, depending on you never want to wish somebody to not have a job. I will say when you're a football coach, even if you're a running back coach making around $200,000, that's more than a lot of us.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good.
You're
that's a nice little chunk of change.
Your groceries and Christmas goodies are fairly down the list of concerns, but developing talent, a key in South Carolina this morning. I don't know if have you seen an official announcement, or is this just all internet?
Right now, it's just the reporting. I haven't seen anything.
And we know we don't have a press conference.
Right. I haven't seen any statements officially put out by the school. But again, we know the reputable outlets, when they report on these things, that means it's legit. But you've moved on from Markel Blackwell as your running backs coach.
So yes, Markel Blackwell no longer with the University of South Carolina. So now you're looking for an offensive coordinator. Technically, you're looking for an offensive. Technically, you're looking for a quarterback's coach. You are technically looking for a tight ends coach, and now you're looking for a running backs coach. And I think, are all under the assumption that Mike Furry and Sean Elliott will be retained.
I would assume. Now, again, what exact roles they play, I don't know. I don't know if Sean Elliott's your offensive line coach. Maybe he goes back to being the tight ends coach and you bring somebody else in. But, yeah, I feel comfortable because, again, those guys have done a good job with what they've had. The tight end room and wide receiver room have been good in the past 2 years. So maybe this year not as good as last year was, but still, those guys have done fine. Obviously, trusted Furry enough to hand over the play calling role once you fired Mike Shula. So, yeah, I would assume those guys are going to be in staff. But, hey, when you have a 4-8 season, nothing is exempt from being examined, and that's why you're making the changes that you're making now. So
it has been a busy day, and it's only noon, and that doesn't count the great SEC shorts on Lane Kiffin's dog and whatever is going on there.
That Lane Kiffin acknowledged himself. It's like, dude, this is calling you a bad person.
Yeah.
And you're laughing at it? Yeah, Lane's going to Lane.
Yeah, but we will. Anyway, we'll have a busy show. Eric Edholm will give us a little bit of a change of pace coming up at 1:30. We'll catch up with him and talk some NFL. No Chiefs in the playoffs?
Whew. They're going to have to be close to perfect down the stretch. We could have a playoff without the Chiefs and the Ravens this year. Think about that. The Chiefs and the Ravens not being in the postseason, and the Patriots and the Colts are. It's like we turn back the clock.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different. Maybe there are some other teams out there that have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Are the Patriots one of those? We'll get into Eric's power rankings, and then coming up at 2:15 today, we'll do a full assessment of South Carolina with J.C. Sherbert. Now, there appears to be one other piece of news that is somewhat slipping through the cracks. Because, again, it's not official, but kids these days have a way of putting stuff out that's cryptic.
Yes.
J.C. Sherbert has reported that Nick Harbour is expected back.
Mm-hmm.
So right now you look at it and you're like, boy, new OC, possibly new running back coach. You land the recruit that I thought was one of the biggest ones you had to have.
Yep.
And Nick Harbour put out an Instagram post last night saying, in a Gamecock jersey, just essentially, I'll be right back, or something to that nature, alluding to,
sure,
hey, I'm back. That's huge.
It is. Assuming that's what his intentions were by putting that out. Again, you want the official confirmation, but that gives you a pretty good indication of what he's trying to say.
We'll get into that. A lot to do, and we only now have 2 hours and 45 minutes left to do it. We'll try and get it all in on a Thursday. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, Captain David Dare. It is the Halftime Show. 12:20 on a Thursday. Sadness? Do you have sadness? Do you have sadness that tonight there's no college, no action? There might be. I got to be honest. I have gone full college basketball mode. And we're going to get in. I want to get into that a little bit. There's things I didn't send you last night.
Yeah.
But I want to get into that a little bit because these championship games this weekend are the most there are meanings to them. BYU obviously is very important.
Sure.
And Virginia Duke is essentially playing a play-in game.
Yeah, so same thing with the American playing game.
Let's remind everybody, Virginia Duke is a football game. It is not a battle of Tony Bennett versus Mike Krzyzewski in Greensboro for the ACC championship.
That's one of those, which sport makes this matchup more compelling, and basketball definitely a better matchup than that in football. James Madison, if they can win and Duke wins the ACC, then you might have the chaos. I did appreciate the fact the other day that instead of automatically putting in the ACC, they just did Conference Champion 4 and Conference Champion 5. Understand? Because, again, the most insane thing they've been doing is slotting in Miami, knowing Miami couldn't win the ACC.
Yeah.
You're just gaslighting a fan base that, quite frankly, has no chance of getting in now.
Yeah, just toying with them.
Exactly. I'm like,
this is for everything you did to us in the 80s right here again.
I guess. I don't know. It's a dog and pony show at this point in time anyway, but at least they were like, all right, we're going to acknowledge the possibility that Tulane and James Madison could occupy the final 2 spots for conference champions if Duke wins on Saturday. Which, you know what? I'm rooting for. I love chaos.
I just, and last night, by the way, Virginia in basketball beat Texas 88-69 in Austin. And I watched a good bit of that until it got to be a blowout. Clemson last night got down big to Alabama, rallied, looked like Clemson was going to make a great game out of it, and then Alabama pulled away for a 90-84 victory. LeBaron and Philon, 29 points, R.J. Godfrey with 19, and that was a good game. That's what I'm saying. I'll be honest, and we'll go down this path. We're kind of going down it now, and we'll get back to signing day and everything that's going on now. It is still technically signing day, by the way, for those wondering.
It's the signing window.
Yeah, it
goes through tomorrow.
The signing window. That's why we're now patiently waiting on Landon Duckworth here in a few hours. Julian Walker. Again, if you're just tuning in, Julian Walker has officially now flipped from the University of Michigan to South Carolina. I'll get into this earlier. I mentioned it in a podcast last night. This one was vital. Like, this one was and I'll explain why it was absolutely vital. And again, I want to give credit where credit is due, Tyler. People would have figured it out. It's kind of like me and Joel Embiid, seeing him in a back gym.
Sure.
Preston Thorne came in here about a year ago after Somerville played Dutch Fork in the state championship. And Preston Thorne, who has knowledge of defensive linemen, raved about Julian Walker. And Walker at that time, I believe, was a 3-star and was kind of an under-the-radar kind of guy. And Preston Thorne was just like, this guy flat out took over the game at the end.
Yeah.
And he was like, somebody would have to ask Preston in the morning if he remembers exactly what he said. But I'll give all the credit in the world to Preston, because we would have gotten to this point. People would be like, oh, Julian Walker's pretty good. Preston Thorne was the very first person last year at this time, state championship week, to watch him and be like, that's a dude.
Yeah.
That is a dude that we got to have.
Again, looking at him physically, he looks like a dude and obviously plays like it as well. And I know when he was committed to Michigan, a lot of people say, well, his dad's on staff here. Why wouldn't he want to come play? And there are a lot of players out there that don't want to be on the same place there. They want to do their own thing. They want to go to a new place, experience new things, new people, and all that kind of stuff. So that's not always going to be a tie of, oh, his dad's on staff, he's definitely going to come to Carolina. There's an instance that obviously that happened, which is really, really good. And we were talking about it earlier, Edge is a room where you're losing several guys out of eligibility. You're going to lose Brian Thomas Jr. You're going to lose JT Gear. You're going to lose Damon Clown. I'm not saying Julian Walker is going to come in and be a starter right away, but you need depth in that room. And getting somebody like him adds depth. You'll still need to address it out in the transfer portal as well, obviously. But good get to add a 15th member to Carolina's class.
Yeah, and so anyway, we'll get more to that and the importance on it. Again, Walker officially, I don't know if his paperwork is. I don't know how that works anymore. I've given up on trying to figure that out.
It's like is it like a PDF now where they just email it to you and you sign it?
I don't even know
the fax machines don't work anymore.
No, and I don't even know officially if it's a national letter of intent anymore or if you're signing. There used to be paperwork, and I never understood why players didn't do this. There used to be a paper that gave you financial aid but didn't lock you into a national letter of intent. And what that meant was, and I don't know if players didn't understand this. I don't know if families or high school coaches, it was a very odd situation because a couple players would do it. And what it was is you would sign a financial grant and aid, and then that way if something happened between February, this was during the February signing period, between February and August, you were not binded to that school.
Yeah.
You weren't bound to that school. And I would see a couple players do it, but it was in a 2 or 3 percentile type range where everybody else would sign the NIL. And once you signed that NIL, back then especially, it was the worst contract you ever signed in your life because you basically said, here, University X, you have the rights to my entire life.
Yeah.
You get anything that I do for you, you get all the money. I can't transfer. I can't do this. I can't do that. You own me for 4 or 5 years. And that didn't mean the financial grant and aid solved all that, but it gave you a window of opportunity to get to the first game. Before then,
right,
you were locked in on what you had to do.
Yeah, and again, I don't know what the specific details of all that stuff is now. I know it's different. But at the end of the day, we have a day where you sign on the dotted line to officially commit to the program or officially sign with the program, and whatever happens from there happens. But yeah, it's changed a lot. There's no more waiting by the fax machine anymore. And I think you brought this up yesterday. Like the excitement of this day, or now period, I guess we call it, isn't comparable to like what it was when it was in February and it was a whole all day thing. And you know, the at that point in time, the season already ended. You know, played national championship on January 5th or 6th or whatever. You had a month off, and then, okay, you know, usually a couple days before the Super Bowl, you have National Signing Day, and you're signing your class and all this kind of stuff. You hear from the coach, and that was kind of your last bit of college football until spring practice began. It was in a way, it was what the NFL does. Yes.
You had your regular season, you had your December bowls and conference championships. You'd have they were sneaking the championship game slightly further back to January 10th. And then in February, you had signing day. So college football inadvertently, this was not done on purpose, I don't think, but was staying constantly in the news. And then you would pick up spring practice in March.
Right.
You'd have spring games in April. And then pretty much at that point, you'd have May, June, and July. And you'd go really May and June. And then you'd have July. And college football is doing it inadvertently. The NFL has openly said, yeah, we now do stuff monthly so that we are on your TV, and that the NFL Network has something that they are previewing each month. Schedule release, combine,
Madden
draft.
Ratings.
Yeah, Madden ratings. Like they literally, the NFL has been upfront and open about that, about like, yes, we now make sure that each month of the year has some kind of event where our NFL Network and ESPN and whomever else is going to have to analyze that, Super Bowl,
which is
combine, draft.
It's brilliant.
You go in order. Yeah.
The NFL prints money for a reason. That's a big reason why. And college football could learn a lot from the NFL. Unfortunately, we don't have the right people in power to make those kind of things happen, apparently.
So Julian Walker is officially in the boat. I'll wait and to see when he gets added to the commitment list, and then we'll give you a little bit of an update on where that kind of places South Carolina. Landon Duckworth still considered a commitment, so his signing would not alter. All right, South Carolina has now moved, according to 24/7 Sports Composite, has now moved to number 20. According to 24/7 Sports on their own, number 17, and their rating has gone, their grade ranking has gone to 91.59.
Okay.
We'll come back and we will get into some of those championship games and are they still important. You have reason to discuss this as well. It's the halftime show. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. 30 years is a long time, but it's because they do things the right way and because they're helping everybody here in this great state of South Carolina. Whether you're in Myrtle Beach or Florence, Charleston or Aiken, Greenville or Spartanburg, wherever you're listening in our beautiful Palmetto State, Mid-State Roofing is there to help you if you've got a leak. So just give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. And not only that, they are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You heard that right, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you call them at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. You'll speak with an on-call technician who is ready to help you. That phone number again, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 12:35 on a escalating Thursday. We told you it'd be kind of wild for about 10 days. About 10 days. We're still patiently waiting on the decision from Shane Beamer as to the offense coordinator position. I would have told you on Monday that by the time we wrapped program on Friday, we would know.
Ideally, you would hope so, and it did sound like that was a hire they wanted to make relatively quickly after the season ended.
Look, and I want to go back to something that I initially just went to start the show, and I did. It does go to show you with this recruiting class, 4 and 8 doesn't always equal people. One of Will Muschamp's best classes with Marshawn Lloyd and Jordan Birch and Alex Huntley and all those guys was after a 4 and 8 was the reason we kept him. And everything that happened, Shane Beamer is probably signed again based on quality, not quantity, and not by ranking, his best class yet. Again, I said in a video last night, to me, Jazavion Currents is the guy who comes in and makes the most immediate impact next year. Julian Walker could push for that as well. Darius Gray's just with an offensive line. I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of that offensive line. Like,
we don't know who's going to be leading that offensive line right now.
If you aside from just saying, well, they're going to be bad because that's what they've been, and I would be like, you're pretty smart on that.
Fair.
I have zero clue. But with all that being said, Julian Walker can come in, and remember, they're going to pair him also with the defensive end from Missouri, whose name just completely escaped my mind, who tore his ACL.
George Wilson.
No, that's the Florida. That was the former Florida State and the one-time South Carolina commitment.
I
know.
Dang it.
Slipping your mind as well.
Yeah.
Two brilliant minds working together right now to try and figure out the one player, the transfer from Missouri.
Dang it.
I know. I'm old. I have an excuse. You come up with your own excuse. But anyway, South Carolina will hopefully have guys that you truly believe can get to the end or get to the quarterback next year and cause some serious problems and take pressure off of Dylan Stewart.
Jalen Brown.
Thank you. Who was a former big-time recruit, was at Missouri, and transferred back, and they got him. And he was considered to be a key piece of the transfer portal and then got hurt. Secret injury, mind you. We just knew he had a lower body. But we'll talk more about that. But I do want to say it goes to show you 4 and 8 in recruiting. Now, 4 and 8 will hurt you this year in 2026 because the kids that were juniors saw it and go, I don't know if I want to be a part of that. You got to kind of flip that as quickly as you can. 803-404-6100. Championships this week, what do they mean to you? Now, you're a Georgia fan. There is some stuff on the line. I feel like for Georgia, this is a bad situation for Georgia. Like, I feel like you got to play an extra game. You were in position. I think you probably would have gotten the bye. Maybe hard to say exactly how they would have played it out.
It depended on what Texas Tech did. Well, I guess now with A&M losing and being out of the championship game, even with Texas Tech winning, Georgia still could have been in a position to maybe still be the number 4 seed because nobody else really would have been playing this weekend. So, yeah, they don't stand to gain a ton from this weekend. They had injuries. Their starting center, Drew Bobo, going to be out this weekend. And that was, you could see, if you watch the game against Georgia Tech, when he went out with his injury, it very much changed what they were able to do offensively when it came to run the football. Definitely limited them a lot. And that's going to be a concern going into this weekend. I will say Kirby Smart, when he talked to the press earlier on this week, said, hey, if you're afraid of injuries, why are you playing football? Injuries happen. You got to play through it. There's still value in the SEC championship. And I agree with him. It's the system is what's created this, like, I don't want to say, find the right words for it, lesser desire for it. Because obviously the goal is a national championship. And, when the 4-team playoff was around, obviously the SEC championship game more often than not was a play-in. Now, yeah, you had instances where, like, Georgia lost and still got in 2021 and went on to win the national championship. But that was more the exception, not the rule. Now it's like, really, I think in every single year, and the committee really confirmed this the other night when they moved Alabama up to 9 as opposed to being 10 when they hopped Alabama, that was their fail-safe. because that way, if Alabama loses, they can say, well, they're in the championship game. We're not going to penalize them for that. And they're not on the cut line either, because this is the scenario you run into this weekend where if BYU beats Texas Tech's already in for where they're ranked with one loss. You'd be splitting the series with BYU, so you'd have to put BYU in. Well, if Alabama was ranked 10th and lost the championship game and BYU won, well, they'd have to top Alabama. Now, you say, okay, if BYU wins, even if Alabama loses, BYU only has to hop over Notre Dame, and they'd be in by an automatic, and then Texas Tech would take that other at-large spot. So the committee, once again, set their chess pieces to, and they don't deal in hypotheticals. They know what's going to happen, or they know what they want to do based on what happens. And they've set themselves up where Alabama can get in, no debate there. Notre Dame, if BYU loses, gets in as the final at-large, and you basically eliminated Miami, Texas, Vanderbilt, and all those other teams that thought they were going to have a shot at it.
803-404-6100. Let me go back and ask you, I asked Brad Crawford this yesterday, having rematches, for example, and they're probably not going to happen because things are going to change, but like the initial one that came out, I think had Notre Dame and Texas A&M.
Yes.
In the first round. There was one other rematch, Oklahoma and Alabama.
Yep.
How do you feel on rematches in the first round from the regular season? I gotta admit, I don't. That's not what we set up here for.
Yeah, I think, and again, I believe the committee intentionally does things to work things out in a certain way. I think they would avoid first-round rematches as much as possible. You can't avoid it when it comes to deeper in the playoffs with quarters and semis and national championships. But if they could avoid Notre Dame playing A&M in the first round, they would do that. They'd move somebody around to 5 or 7 or something like that to avoid that rematch. You wouldn't have to have that direct comparison once again. And I don't know. I guess I'm more okay with that one, considering they played early on in the year where
Okay.
And obviously, Georgia, if they won, they would get a first-round bye. If somehow it worked out where Georgia beat Alabama and then both teams played for the next week based on their rankings in the first round, it's like, okay, you don't want to do those kind of things. But again, the committee's going to move things around to make it where that doesn't happen, because that's what they do. And
You would hope they do. You hope they take a cue from the basketball committee.
They will.
The basketball committee tries to avoid conference-on-conference violence in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and the committee's going to do the same thing, and they're going to sit there and lie to us and tell us, no, we don't take those things into account. They absolutely do. The committee is run by a bunch of people that think we're stupid, apparently, that, no, they get paid a lot of money. They get a nice hotel in Grapevine, Texas, and probably steak dinners paid for, where they go in there and fundamentally corrupt what continues to play college football. But I'll get off my soapbox.
803-404-6100. Yeah, I'm with you on that in terms of I'm not big on the rematch. I kind of just want to see something fresh and something new. You know, Oregon and Texas Tech would be really cool. Give me BYU and, give me BYU and Georgia playing in a game or something. Something different that we don't see, especially if we're getting an on-campus game. BYU, Alabama. And
especially with so many new teams set into the playoff this year, Texas Tech going to make it for the first time. BYU wins, they'd be in for the first time. Indiana was in last year, Georgia, Alabama in the at least 12-team playoff, going in for the first time. So you get Oklahoma. They haven't been in a while, so you get an opportunity for a lot of fresh and unique matchups with some of the new blood that you have coming in this year that hopefully they, organize in a way where we have some fun stuff to talk about for that opening round.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do so. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, Captain David Ayer. It is the halftime show. Final segment of the hour again. Eric Edholm of NFL.com set to join us at 1:30 this afternoon. We'll get into some NFL for the coming weekend because the college football playoff. Does it start this weekend? Is this
Nah, not necessarily. And look, there are games of consequence because again, the AAC or the American is a play-in. The ACC is like half a play-in because Virginia plays their way in, but Duke really can't. Like, there's no scenario where 7-5 Duke as a conference champion gets in.
Okay.
Like, they're basically playing to doom the ACC if they end up winning. And look, again, I don't put on the tinfoil hat, and I don't believe conferences go out there and say, you know what, we need Texas to win the SEC this year. Let's make sure the officials do everything they can in the power to ensure that, or Alabama or Georgia, whoever it may be. But at this weekend, considering the fact the ACC could be locked out of the 12-team playoff if Duke wins, if there's some calls that go against Duke, I'm not going to say you're wrong for thinking there's something afoot there. Especially if it's late in the game, I don't know, a touchdown gets called back on a holding or something like that really could have changed things. I will invite your conspiracies at that point.
803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in if you want to do so in that manner. Again, talking about this weekend, real quick rundown of the games if you're going to be into this kind of thing. It doesn't have the same pizzazz, if you will. It doesn't have the same kind of excitement. Tomorrow night, you mentioned James Madison. They're fighting for their spot. They'll be on at 7 o'clock at home taking on Troy.
Yes.
And by the way, a lot of people may be watching that because of Bob Chesney.
Right, who's headed for UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they need to win that game. They need Duke to win the ACC to give a chance. Now, they got ranked on Tuesday. And again, that is the committee setting themselves up so they don't have to say on Sunday, oh, by the way, James Madison gets this other spot. They're ranked, so they're in a position where if they win, again, the committee thinks we're stupid for whatever reason. But yeah, that's half a play-in because Troy's not going to be the other representative if they win that conference championship. They're not ranked as of right now. And then the other one with Tulane in North Texas that night is true play-in because the winner gets in. You got Eric Morris, who's heading to Oklahoma State, but will stay with North Texas throughout the playoff run, and obviously Tulane with John Summerall, who's headed to Florida, and he's in the same situation there. But yeah, one of those teams will make their first playoff appearance by virtue of winning the American on Friday.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do so. That'll be that game. Tulane also playing. Keep hitting my little button here.
That's okay.
Tulane on Friday night as well. And they play North Texas, and you just mentioned Eric Morris.
Yeah, so he's going to Oklahoma State. Obviously, Summerall's going to Florida. So two coaches on their way out, but they'll stay with the teams through whatever that playoff run looks like, depending on who ultimately wins that. But yeah, high stakes in that one because it's truly an elimination game. Same thing with the Big 12. Well, I guess the Big 12's halfway because, again, Texas Tech gets in regardless, but BYU knows they must win Saturday if they want to play in the 12-team playoff. So out of, I guess if we put it in order in terms of most consequences to least consequences, for the power conferences, I guess the Big 12 has the most consequences, and I guess the Big 10 would have the least because I think the losers still get to bye. The loser may not like they may if
you're talking about out of Indiana and Ohio State.
Yeah, like if Indiana wins, I think they just may swap with Ohio State. I think Ohio State would be 2, still get a bye. The loser of the Big 12 championship, outside of getting blown out by 70 points, I don't think they fall out of the top 4. Why would they?
No, they shouldn't. They don't deserve to.
No, they don't.
And to your point, to what you're saying, that's what makes that game. Now that'll be the late game, obviously on Saturday night. I'm intrigued
because I think it'll be a good game between two good teams.
Yeah,
but there's really. I mean, the winner goes to the Rose Bowl, right? Because the Big Ten champion is tied into the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's like, all right, you're playing for that, I guess. But then the loser, all right, you're going to go the Orange Bowl or Cotton Bowl or whatever.
Yeah, the question is, do you move the loser down to number 4?
I don't even know if you go that far, honestly.
Like, do you? Well, you probably move them behind the SEC champion, especially if it's Georgia.
Okay, maybe.
So that Georgia's the only team. If Georgia won, I can see the SEC champion being rewarded with a 2.
Sure, like last year.
But then, if you wanted to go Indiana 3, I could see that.
They're not falling out. And again, there's no scenario where you have 4 conference champions getting buys because of where the ACC is. The Big 12's right there, but yeah, there's going to be one at least non-champion getting a bye, and I'm assuming that's going to be the loser of the Big Ten championship.
803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in if you want to do that and add anything to the program. Again, real quick rundown on Saturday, BYU and Texas Tech at noon on ABC, Georgia, Alabama at 4 o'clock on ABC, Duke and Virginia, 8 o'clock on ABC, and Fox will have Indiana and Ohio State. That'll be
right.
1 versus 2 on Fox at 8 o'clock. We'll come back, get back into some signing day stuff. What's going on with the Gamecocks? We'll get some thoughts from Tyler from yesterday since he was out. You're listening to Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Captain David Dare. It is the Halftime Show. 1 o'clock on your Thursday. Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, and Captain Dave Adair as we roll along here, getting you set for the weekend pretty much, going over some of the college championship, the conference championship games that are set to take place. Trying to figure out maybe the value of them, because we agree, Ohio State, Indiana, not of the greatest importance.
Yeah. Well, should
Alabama,
be a good
Georgia,
game.
we assume both are in.
Yeah. Now, again, can you say with 100% certainty Alabama's in? No, but I would lean towards like 95%, unless Georgia just absolutely obliterated them. But even still, they have the regular season win over Georgia. You'd be splitting the series at that point in time. So I do think that accounts for something. Same argument, if BYU was able to beat Texas Tech, it's like, well, BYU's in by virtue of being the champion, and Texas Tech also beat them in the regular season, so kind of hard to leave them out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think the only real debate comes down to Notre Dame, where it's like, okay, and it's really not a debate because this is out of their hands because they don't play this weekend. If BYU wins, Notre Dame's out. BYU loses, Notre Dame's in. And that's really the only movement I'm expecting this weekend.
803-404-6100. How you can weigh in if you want to do that. Also, the big news of the day, about a little over an hour ago, South Carolina officially flips Jillian Walker, defensive end from Dutch Fork High School, was originally set to go to Michigan, had been committed to Michigan since the summertime. His father, Jamel Walker, is on staff as the strength and conditioning coach. He had taken many a visit to the University of South Carolina. And Tyler, we'll see how good he is.
Sure.
We'll learn how good Julian Walker is. In high school, he's preparing for another state championship. Now, I've said it. I'll give Preston Thorne all the credit in the world. Preston last year called Julian Walker. He said he was a stud. He is considered the number 580. He is considered the number 585 overall player in the country, the number 12 edge player, and the number 2 player in the state of South Carolina. That does give the Gamecocks landing the number 1 and number 2 players in the state of South Carolina in Jazavion Currents and in Julian Walker. But Walker listed on 24/7 Sports 6'5.5", 252. Should be enrolling early. I know this is going to sound kind of stupid, but given that his father is around a strength and conditioning program, I would assume this is a young man who understands the values of nutrition and all that comes along with that. And since that's in mind, this is a guy that I now look to go, all right, what kind of impact can you have at the college level under Sterling Lucas in 2026?
Yeah, and it's going to be in a room where, again, hoping that Dylan Stewart comes back, obviously, we're going to ask, okay, who's that other guy going to be? Because you're going to lose Brian Thomas Jr. because he's out of eligibility, so that other spot opposite of Dylan Stewart is going to be open. By the way, this is per 24/7. This class will have signed 4 of the top 5 prospects in the state, the only exception being Contavion Anderson, safety out of Dorman, who went to Clemson. But the rest, and Beamer talks about it a lot, priority number 1 is winning the state, which they've done a really good job of the past couple of years, but signing 4 of the top 5 guys out of the state is certainly a win for this class.
So South Carolina, again, it kind of goes to show you that not all 4 and 8 seasons lead to complete fallout on the recruiting trail. But with all that being said, South Carolina lands Julian Walker. Now we await Landon Duckworth and what exactly his decision. Now, I said this yesterday. You want Landon Duckworth. Landon Duckworth is a talented quarterback prospect.
Yeah.
I am in no way, shape, or form trying to put down Landon Duckworth. I will say, should he at the last minute flip and go to LSU, I don't consider that a huge loss because it feels like it's easier to replace quarterbacks through the transfer portal than it is to go out and get elite edge rushers.
Sure.
Especially young quarterbacks at this day and age.
Well, and we still don't know if Duckworth does end up coming to South Carolina. What situation is he coming into? Is he coming into a situation where it's a wide-open quarterback battle between 3 guys that have never started a game before, or is he coming in here to serve as the backup to Lenore Sellers for 1 year? Sellers still has a couple of weeks to give that final decision on if he's going to go to the NFL draft or not. I still think that no matter what, you probably want to go out and get a portal quarterback, and that can either be, if Sellers leaves, somebody that can be your starter next year that has experience, maybe a tie to the OC, depending on who you hire, or if nothing else, like Robbie Ashford 2 seasons ago now, you have an experienced backup, because let's face it, Lenore Sellers has been banged up quite a bit in his 2 years as a starter here. Had to miss the Akron game last year that Robbie Ashford obviously ended up starting. And if you don't feel like, because again, and here's my question. We talk about Mike Shula holding Sellers back this year. Didn't develop in the right way. Things not progressing the way they needed to. Well, was that same thing happening to Cutter Woods and Aaron Nolan? I think it's obvious Aaron Nolan isn't what people thought he was going to be at this point, because he seemed to be quarterback number 3 as of right now. So
now 3.
Yeah, now 3.
Yeah, now
Luke Doty's going to be moving on, but 3 as of right now, when we thought he was the heir apparent. Like, okay, Sellers comes in, has one more good year, and then boom, Aaron Nolan, 4-star kid, sits behind Sellers for a year, and he takes over in 26, and that doesn't look like that's going to happen. And obviously, you don't want to throw a Landon Duckworth to the Wolves or a Cutter Woods if he's not ready. So I think regardless, you may go out and just get a portal quarterback no matter what, if Sellers stays or goes, for depth and experience purposes too.
803-404-6100. The question is can you find another Robbie Ashford who's willing to accept their role?
Right. Somebody that, I don't know, may have a couple of years of eligibility where they say, okay, if I'm here for a year, then maybe I have the option to go elsewhere if it doesn't work out at Carolina, like Robbie Ashford did, who went on to Wake Forest, and I believe they're going bowling, so he did some good things there. With them this year. Again, that's easier said than done, but yes, that would be an ideal situation if Sellers came back. If he doesn't come back, then you're opening up saying, hey, here's a job you can come in here and take. You can start at Carolina, and maybe, again, that's tied to your offensive coordinator. You know what I mean? And whoever that is, I know there were a lot of people talking about the guy from ODU and the quarterback that he has there that's been very impressive, and that'd be a great situation. But whoever it is, if they have a quarterback with eligibility that wants to come and play in that same system like we saw with Beck and Pavia, like we saw with Arbuckle and John Mateer out at Oklahoma, that would be great too.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Kevin Decker at ODU, the offense coordinator, is considered one of the top. I will say this, and I don't know what's true and what's not. I kind of say this tongue-in-cheek, and it's based on what I'm told, not on anybody else, that right now Jason Beck with Utah is involved in the chase or involved in the mix a little bit. Kevin Decker and Brad Glenn appear to be the 3 names.
Yeah.
The way I have been led to believe, and I could be wrong, the name will come from one of those 3. Kevin Decker's quarterback, Colton Joseph, has entered the transfer portal.
Yes.
Now, there are reports that Wisconsin is kind of the team to beat at this point. He has 2 years of eligibility remaining, and but for what it is worth, now in 2025, Colton Joseph compiled, he's got 19 career starts where he has 4,251 passing yards, 32 passing touchdowns, and he's rushed for 1,654 yards and rushed for 24 touchdowns. So, again, he is in the portal. Kevin Decker is a name that's being bounced around, and the way some news is kind of flying, it does feel like, I just say this because I've done it before, and I'm sure some of the more veteran reporters would tell you this. Instead of announcing Marquell Blackwell is instead of doing multiple small announcements, we're setting up for a Friday or a Monday, one big press conference where we just summarize everything that's going on.
Yeah, maybe so. And again, if you go out there and hire Decker, maybe he brings the running backs coach. Maybe he brings an offensive line coach that he likes, then brings Colton Joseph and a receiver and an offensive lineman. Who knows? The possibilities kind of end. Listen, hiring an offensive coordinator also doesn't guarantee you're going to get anybody from their previous team. Those guys may want to go play somewhere else, or may not think the system fits them perfectly, or who knows. It's not a guarantee. We have seen it work, which, again, until proven otherwise, you're going to assume that's something that you can do. But even hiring a coordinator doesn't guarantee you're going to get a talent like him if he thinks that he can go and be better off somewhere else. So just things to think about. But I'm with you. I didn't think we would get this far into the week without something happening. And again, you look around, and there's so many offensive coordinator job openings at schools that are either hiring head coaches or have already hired head coaches or looking to hire head coaches. So you're in the pool of candidates, or you're in the pool of options for those candidates. We'll see who decides to come.
803-404-6100. One other piece of Gamecock news from today. Now, we already knew that reserve offensive lineman Nick Sharp had entered the transfer portal. Defensive lineman Xavion Hardy now plans to enter the transfer portal. And this is just a wild situation because, Tyler, I don't know if you were around during his actual recruitment 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. This was a big pickup, and you knew that there was some academic issues. He goes to junior college. He commits to Mississippi State. South Carolina was able to flip him. This was a guy that a lot of people thought would come in and help. Then it was kind of like maybe he got injured. Maybe he just wasn't ready for the college game, and a redshirt year would have him ready to really make an impact next year. And after 1 year, he's going to transfer out, and it closes a book. I got to admit, I've seen some odd stuff. It closes a chapter on some kind of odd things with this one particular player that South Carolina has been chasing now for about 4 years.
Yeah, and then when he was the number one JUCO guy coming out last year, so you see that and say, okay, well, he's somebody that can maybe come in and make an impact in a room that obviously lost a lot of talent and experience from a year ago, and it didn't happen. He played one game against Coastal. Now, again, is this more of him just wanting more playing time? Is it the coaching staff not thinking he's developing the right way? We may not get the answers on that necessarily, but yeah, what a long saga to end up with a guy that ends up playing all of one game for you and transferring out.
Played against Coastal. That was all he did this year. So if you blinked, you missed it. And but that's kind of where things stand as we sit here at 1:12 on a Thursday, December the 4th, getting ready now for the weekend for conference championship games. And again, we'll see. It does feel like we're on offensive coordinator watch. Again, the other news today, two things, by the way, just reading a quick report from Harold McGranahan. Julian Walker has not officially signed yet, or if he has, the paperwork has not reached South Carolina. Therefore, Gamecocks have not officially put anything out on Julian Walker. Also, according to multiple reports, Tony Morrell, as well as people at Gamecock Central, Markwell Blackwell, the running backs coach, released. Now, Blackwell also got off to a rocky start. Remember, he didn't really talk early on, and there was rumors that he was going to leave for Ohio State almost as soon as he got here.
Yeah, I forgot until Jack reminded me of that this morning, because you had already had the Coley thing that had happened a few weeks or a few months before or whatever, where he came in, he was here for like 2 weeks, and then went to Georgia. So you're like, oh, no, are you going to lose another assistant to within the same offseason to another school in the SEC? And I've said it didn't end up happening. But, look, when the production's not where it needs to be, and running back or the rushing production on this team, with the exception of last year, has been towards the bottom of the SEC in all 5 years under Coach Beamer. That's a problem. Now, again, is that a Beamer problem? Is that an assistant problem? We don't know. But in a year where you need to get things back on track, making a change like this made a lot of sense.
803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. We'll come back, get into a few other topics this afternoon. And Eric Edholm from the NFL.com set to join us coming up here in just a little while. You're listening to the Halftime Show. So, kind of recapping signing day. Let's look big picture because there was a big story outside of our local stuff that we followed. And that was the flip of Jared Curtis from Georgia to Vanderbilt.
Right.
And Vanderbilt also, by the way, then proceeded to flip a few other guys. Took a wide receiver from Alabama. Got a few other guys in the boat. Pretty good signing day for Clark Lee. Clark Lee has signed the extension. It looks like Vanderbilt is on stable ground. Now, let me just say this, because I put a video out this morning that took place 1 year ago tomorrow.
Right.
Or 1 year ago,
Yeah.
2 days of the 6th. It was on the 6th of last year.
Yeah.
It was on a Friday night. But it was last year. I was at the Township. It was the big NIL deal. Darius Rucker performed a kind of a concert. Patrick Davis was there with the Midnight Choir. The video, you can go to my Twitter at Will, W-I-L, Gunter, G-U-N-T-E-R. You can check it out there. Sean Elliott's having a good time. Shane Beamer singing Wagon Wheel. Unfortunately, in the video, I am singing Wagon Wheel.
You were in the moment. It's okay.
Thank you, Bourbon, for that. But that was a week removed, essentially, from 9-3, from the excitement of Lenore Sellers. From, at that time, I do not think we knew a bowl. I don't think we thought that we would get to the college football playoff.
No, because the SEC championship hadn't happened.
Right.
So that would have been the Friday before.
My point was, I think we thought we were going to miss it, but we were gonna. It was like worth watching.
Yeah. In terms of like Gamecock football history, it's hard to say there are many more times where the vibes may have been higher than that period of time where that video took place.
Yeah, definitely maybe sometimes there in the Spurrier area during the 3 years. But with that being said, you can go see that video, and everybody's having a good time and clapping along. I got a few other videos I'll post. There's one of people chanting Gamecocks, and it's just a lovey-dovey night at the Township, and everybody's feeling great. And most importantly, at that time, Tyler, everything felt stable.
Sure.
Like, stability was the name of the game.
This is where we're at now. We did, and Beamer after the Clemson game last year said, "Hey, get used to it. This is gonna be a game between two teams that are competing for the playoff every single year, and 9 and 10 wins." And at the time, great, yeah. Why not believe them? And then here we are a year later.
363 days later, you're right. Here we are, and I say this because if we sit here today and you look around, you go, "Wow." Clark Lee just signed an extension. Wow. Vanderbilt just signed a 5-star quarterback. Wow. Vanderbilt just went 10-2. Vanderbilt looks stable. South Carolina does not. And I think, honestly, if you go back to last year, you're like, that was a nice run by the Commodores, but Diego Pavia's out of eligibility. At that point, we're like, Pavia's out of eligibility.
Listen, if Vanderbilt hadn't upset Alabama last year, we probably wouldn't have paid that much attention to them, right? They would have, at that point, gone 5-7, which, hey, by their standards, that's not an awful year. And, we may have said a few things about Diego Pavia. That Alabama win carried so much of last year, but it didn't guarantee that this year was going to turn into the best year in program history. But it did for them.
And you go with it.
Yeah.
And you roll with it. So, with all that kind of being said, I go back to that video because if you go watch it again, it's a little short video, just real quick, real short, and it's just again showing where everybody was in that moment. Because Tyler, it goes to show you, and I think this is what college football is. There's things that I knew, such as that we are indeed in 1 year cycles now with pretty much all.
Sure.
Of the sports, not just college football. It's 1 year cycles. Enjoy what you got this year because next year you don't know what you're going to have. But there's that. But also we're learning about the college football head coaching trade system, to which you basically get September to prove yourself now.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're out on your keister, and we're looking for the new coach to announce him the first Sunday after the regular season.
So I couldn't find your video of this from a year ago.
Okay.
But I found Wes, who was also at this concert, posted the same video of him singing Wagon Wheel. It says, Darius Rucker, Wagon Wheel Live, featuring Shane Beamer, Sean Elliott, Patrick Davis. Here's some of the comments on said video. Coach Beamer living his best life, as he should. This is amazing. Sean Elliott looks like a fun guy. That's so cool. Game cognition, fantastic night. Go Cox. Like all this positive stuff. Let's say theoretically that same concert happened tomorrow night, and you captured that same video and posted it on Twitter.
Yeah.
What do the comments say?
Well, I didn't post it. That video that I posted today was just
Right, in reference. But we're talking about what happened then. Those are some of the comments on the exact same thing happening from a year ago. If that same concert happened tomorrow and you posted that video of that exact same thing happening with the context of this year instead, what are the comments?
we wouldn't be able to read them on air.
No, we wouldn't.
There would be people going, you get your bleepity bleep back to the building and you bleepity bleep recruit.
You're on stage with Darius Rucker. We haven't had an offensive coordinator yet. Are you kidding me?
And we said this. I said this after 5 and 7, because you were coming off of 8 and 5, and if you remember, 8 and 5 led to a lot of the little videos.
Yes,
Nick Harbour was coming in, and there was all this stuff. Remember, there was the office video of them going out and racing, and the sign popping up. And
I think that's one that Oscar Attaway said convinced him to come here. Was that the one?
Really? Yeah.
Because he said when he was at North Texas, he saw some video and it's like, oh, that was funny, and that's why I wanted to come to Carolina. I think that was around that time frame.
And so anyway, with all that being said, it's a situation where back then during 5 and 7, I was like, I don't want to see any of your videos.
Yes.
I love Justin King and he does a great job, but you boys for 10 months, you lay as low as possible and you act like you don't even exist. Whatever you do, whatever you got to do behind the scenes to get it fixed. And we'll come back to you, whatever that September was, August was, and it's going to be the same thing this year.
Sure.
Nobody wants to see you at Fort Jackson. Nobody wants to see you playing hide and seek. Nobody even wants to see those 5 a.m. workout videos. And I love Derek Moore, and he's an inspiration, and he does a great job, plays a huge role. But nobody wants to hear Derek Moore yelling and screaming and saying, push your brother, and we're in this to the end and all that stuff.
Yeah. Listen, if you saw Shane Beamer at Publix next week, you'd be like, hey, Shane, how's it going? Take a picture or whatever. But in half your mind's like, why is he here? Why isn't he focusing on getting better? Why isn't he hiring offensive coordinator? Why isn't he doing this? Why is he doing that?
Yeah, you're like, hey, you make $8 million.
Exactly.
Have somebody come buy your own groceries.
Exactly.
DoorDash.
You can do the pickup thing on the way home. You don't need to be in this aisle right now. You need to be in the facility, grinding tape, making hires, whatever it may be, because that's what comes with having a disappointing season, is being subject to that scrutiny.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do so. We'll come back, switch gears, talk some NFL with Eric Edholm. You're listening to The Halftime Show. It is 1:32 on a Thursday, getting ready for NFL weekend. NFL, I think, kind of snags I think because of the insignificance, and maybe I'm being overly dramatic. Eric, you tell me, you're a Missouri fan. You follow college football. You write for NFL.com. Tyler, you follow up on this. Does NFL take full center stage this weekend with now maybe a little less significance to these college football championship games? Eric, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think so, right? I mean, don't ask Kirby Smart. I think he'd smack you around a little bit if you said that in front of him. But, yeah, I mean, look, it used to be massive. It felt like it was an important weekend for determining positions and all that stuff. And now it's kind of an afterthought, like you said. So, look, I'm sure the trophies will still be in the cases. The banners will still be hung and all that. But as far as, like, absolute meaning in the sport, not sure it has much. And you're right. NFL kind of sinks its teeth into the viewership a little bit and grabs hold of the attention.
I think we can start with the game coming up tonight, which people can listen to here right here on 107.5. The game at 7 o'clock between the Cowboys and the Lions. You know, the Cowboys, the Lions coming off of another strong year. Last year, the Cowboys coming in, new head coach, a lot of questions, trading away Micah Parsons. But as we get to this critical last month of the regular season, Cowboys trending up, Lions are trending down. Where do you kind of see where both of these organizations are at as of right now?
I mean, it does feel like the Cowboys are catching the Lions at a perfect time. Even having to go on the road in a short week, that's always difficult. But, yeah, they're playing their best football. I mean, you have to give it to Jerry Jones. Look, I know, like you said, the Parsons trade probably still remains unpopular. You know, you poll 100 Cowboys fans, I don't think a lot are still supporting it, but when they understand the big picture of we're able to get Quinnen Williams and they might be able to do something a little more in free agency next year too and have draft capital as well, and they're winning, boy, that's a pretty good formula. And Dak Prescott has played great football again, had a little stretch in the season where he was not at his best, but back on top. I've always been a big fan of Dak. I think he's really good at what he does. George Pickens has played better than CeeDee Lamb, but they have true go-to targets on either side of the field. Defensively, they're more competitive with Quinnen Williams. So, yeah, Detroit's got multiple issues right now. I mean, defensively, they have their limitations. Offensively, injuries have really kind of sunk into this team. And the loser of this game, obviously, the Cowboys are in a trail position right now. They lose, they're really swimming upstream, but Detroit, they lose, they're not too much farther ahead either. I mean, they're really in a tough spot, and both teams have that mentality of, like, we probably need to win out to be sure we're in. So that's kind of the backdrop of this very important game as far as playoff seeding and all that.
Real quick, Dallas fans, did the Micah Parsons trade hurt more because they also traded Luka Doncic? Like Dallas, I know Jerry Jones.
Well, yeah.
Like Dallas fans are sitting around like, really, we're trading Luka, and now you guys are going to trade Micah Parsons. You got anybody else you want to go back and trade Dirk Nowitzki as well? Just post.
I don't follow hockey, so I can't tell you if the Stars have done anything dramatic. But yeah, those two things I think have a connection. Like Dallas felt like they're being robbed of their star players, but it may turn here. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's look kind of toward the upcoming weekend. You mentioned it tonight, and Detroit, this one is at home. I did not have Detroit losing to Green Bay on Thanksgiving Day, so this one's a huge one for the Lions. But this weekend, you look at a few other games that are coming up. Give me two or three that stand out to you that are playoff deciding games. Maybe Green Bay, Chicago, the late afternoon game at Lambeau. God, I just looked at that. I'd love to know. I know I've got a friend up in Wisconsin. She sent me the weather. It was 3 degrees yesterday.
That's football weather.
No, it's not. No, it is not. That is hockey weather.
To them, it is.
There's nowhere in this earth. I don't care what it. But anyway, 2 or 3 games you're looking at, Eric, this weekend that have huge playoff implications.
And as an upper Midwesterner who's about an hour from Chicago and about 3 hours from Green Bay, I can confirm it is colder than you-know-what here. After we had foot of snow last week, by the way. So, yeah, I mean, this is massive. I'm not a Bears fan, but I can say this with full confidence. This is one of the biggest games they've had in years. Last week, beating the Eagles on Black Friday was I think they're for real. How for real are they, right? And if there's been one team that has been their tormentor, it's not like they haven't beaten them, but the Packers win the big matchups between the Bears, right? And they own the all-time series right now. And this is it, right? Like, this is your opportunity, right? After the 0-2 start, it's been remarkable to see them turn their season completely around. They're still not even hitting peak performance offensively. I think they can get better in the passing game, which is also pretty remarkable. And, this is the chance. I mean, a loss is kind of hurtful to either team. This puts them kind of in the back seat all of a sudden. And you think about the division race, Detroit nominally still in it. We'll find out after tonight. But, yeah, I mean, it really is boiling down to this great traditional rivalry. And, two quarterbacks that are immensely talented, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, both guys I think have not been at that elite level performance-wise. But both are capable of it. I thought Love played great on Thanksgiving. We've seen Caleb have a much more steady performance this entire season than last year. So, yeah, it's really going to be a great test. I think the two defenses, whichever one, sort of makes its statement on the game, could end up winning. But, yeah, I mean, this is their chance to kind of prove the demon has been slayed, at least temporarily.
One team that will focus locally here is Carolina Panthers, not playing this weekend. If I would ask you before the season started, when we get into December with 4 games to go, your prediction for the Panthers would be what?
I would have probably said like 5-8, if I'd be honest. I thought they were going to be better. You couldn't do worse than, the point total they allowed defensively last year is the most in league history. So there was only one place to go from there. But I give Dan Morgan a lot of credit. There's obviously a lot of pressure to surround Bryce with talent, and this was going to always be a critical year for not only his development but also future plans, right? Third-year quarterback, deciding on that fifth-year option, deciding on a long-term deal. We saw what Brock Purdy went through. It took a while, and I would imagine that Bryce is still kind of in that limbo a little bit, but he's had enough big games, even with the disappointing ones like the Saints game and others along the way, to where you think he's probably the guy. Ted McMillan's been fantastic, right? You're getting some more out of Leggett. Your Rico Dowdle has obviously kind of reemerged a little bit. Last week was a big part of the run game. Defensively, they're not a sieve. They're competitive. They had 3 turnovers last week was a huge part of the victory. And to be able to beat the team that, in a weird year where parity has been kind of the story, or the shifting tides, who's the best team. The Rams were the one coming into last week where everybody said kind of hard to question their credentials, and they go out and beat them. And that's a big statement. Like you said, the bye hits probably at a good time, but also I know they probably want to get out there again, and they'll have their chance of redemption in New Orleans, and obviously a couple more big games against the Bucs after that. So still work to do, but yeah, I think they're ahead of where I would have imagined. They have the strangest resume. There's no question. Like, their blowout losses and their impressive victories. I mean, it's the whole gamut. But if you really drill down and can look past the Saints game, I think they've played really good football for the most part.
You can check out his work on NFL.com. He's Eric Edholm. He's got his power rankings out. Let's give some love to our morning producer and Chicago native, pretty much a Chicago native, Jen Jensen. You've got the Bears at 6. Is Ben Johnson Coach of the Year at this point? Is he deserving of this?
It could come down to him and Mike Vrabel in New England. I think those are your top candidates. Rabes is obviously a name guy, but Ben Johnson's a name guy at this point. He, after turning down the Washington job, being patient and waiting and finding this opportunity, he's been a hot coordinator for a few years, and now he's backed it up. Now, who knows? He could be Matt Nagy 2.0 for all we know. I suspect not. Both guys, obviously, offensive-minded dudes, creative approaches to the game. I thought Matt was wired a little bit too tightly up here at times and really kind of cost him after that first season. But we'll see if Ben can get it done. But right now, I would say Vrabel might be your leader, and Ben Johnson's, hot on his tail.
Final one before we get you out of here, about a minute and a half left. what has Kansas City got to do for us to continue to see Patrick Mahomes? They get Houston on Sunday night in KC. That'll be cold, too, I'm pretty sure. But what do they got to do now if you stare down the road to be in the playoffs? Because I feel like if they get in the playoffs, whatever their record is, they're a contender.
Absolutely. I say the same about the Bills, too. Especially this year. The AFC, to me, you got to tip your hat to what Denver's doing, New England, all these other teams. Jacksonville, great. They've had great seasons. But in terms of playoff success, no one can top the Chiefs. The Bills would have gone to multiple Super Bowls had it not been for them. So I kind of put them as the 1B on that list. But, yeah, their mission is to play well at the place they've played well this season in Kansas City. That's probably the best thing they have going for them right now. They have Mahomes. They have a Hall of Fame head coach and tight end. Defensively, I wish they were a little better. They've been at times very good. Second half of that Colts game, a few other spots along the way, but man, I mean, it's surprising. If you look at their resume and didn't know the record, blind resume, 2024 Chiefs, 2025 Chiefs, you would pick this year's team. The metrics say they're a better team than they were a year ago when they got to the Super Bowl. So football's a curious sport. Sometimes it doesn't work out. They have 10 more touchdowns than their opponents, and they're fighting for their playoff lives. So now you got to do it against maybe the best defense in the NFL. I think they get it done this weekend some way or another, but they're better than their record indicates, I think, and I hope they have a shot to get in. That's what you want, at least just to make some good narratives as we head down the stretch.
Eric, we always appreciate it, but I hope you stay warm up there. I've seen the weather.
Yep.
It doesn't look comfy. It's cold here. I imagine it's going to be worse up there. But we always appreciate your time joining us.
Yeah, I got 2 dogs laying next to me. It's hard to type, but at least they keep me warm, so I appreciate it, fellas.
Good to hear from you, and look forward to catching up with you later on this month. Eric Edholm, NFL.com. Check out his work there. We'll come back and wrap up hour number 2. It is the halftime show. Do you want some kind of new blood in the NFL? Are we done with the Chiefs, kind of the Eagles to an extent? Do we want to see true new blood in the NFL when we get here to NFC and AFC championship weekends?
It's really funny how quickly people turn on the best, because when the Chiefs were coming along, that was kind of putting it into the Patriots dynasty, right?
Right.
There was the AFC champ. The last Super Bowl the Patriots played in was because they had that bad call against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. It was like a roughing the passer when the dude like laid his finger on Tom Brady's helmet or something like that, and that helped the Patriots win. Everybody's like, oh man, they're screwing over the Chiefs, and Patriots get everything, and then that kind of transition to the Chiefs becoming what they've become. And again, I think Tony Romo mentioned on last week's game that they've played in, 7 consecutive AFC Championship games at least 100 times. That is his favorite statistic about the Chiefs, and he keeps talking about it, whatever the last time the Chiefs played. But it does realistically look like they might lose playoffs this year if they don't really go on a stretch run here at the end of the year. But yeah, I think people, it's like, okay, you win a Super Bowl, that's fine. You win 2, okay. You win 3, that's when people really start turning on you, especially if they're in that short little window, because we like new things, but don't hang around too long. Want to mix it up. And again, even the Eagles have played for 2 Super Bowls in the past handful of years, obviously winning the one, this past year. They're not all that far removed from the one that Nick Foles won in the, 2017 season. So, yeah, I think the majority of people are probably ready for fresh blood. I like dynasties. I don't mind dynasties. I don't like the same, because it's one of those things that after the fact you appreciate it, right? Where it's like, man, I got to watch the Patriots dynasty. I got to watch the Alabama dynasty. Those were special. And again, in the moment, you may not like it, but years down the line, like, wow, I can't believe that. I got to watch that dominance and those great players and coaches and all that kind of stuff do what they did over that period of time.
Yeah, as I've grown up, and I really kind of date this to 2000. So because I understood what the Bulls were doing, but I didn't like the Bulls back then because it's like, well, they win all the time.
Yeah.
And, I didn't like, and now I have a greater appreciation for Michael Jordan and the Bulls, and I go now Instagram and watch videos of them, and I'm just like, wow, what they were. I've gone down a bad Instagram rabbit hole of white chocolate Jason Williams.
Yeah, you were telling me about that the other day.
Yeah, I've gone down a bad, and not just him, but guys like Sean Kemp, guys that I grew up on the NBA in the 90s. And then, get nostalgic, and now I'm sending these videos. I'm texting them to Austin, my son, and, I'm that dad now. I'm that old man. This is basketball. This is what you miss.
Are you the one, if you're watching a game with him now, be like, so-and-so wouldn't have been able to compete back in 1995?
I don't know.
No,
I don't thankfully go down that. I still have an appreciation for the new players and what they can do. But I say that because I feel like my true foray into sports started around 2000 when I got to college. And at that time, I was seeing kind of a rebirth of the Miami Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
Florida, even though they had only won 1 national championship, was in their heyday. Florida State had only won, I believe, 1 championship at that point.
Tennessee
was in their heyday. Tennessee was good. Tennessee was constantly getting beat by Florida and had their 1-year run. But you're right. It was the Patriots. It was really, truthfully, I think the Spurs that started my they're a dynasty.
Yeah.
Lakers obviously too. Lakers and then Spurs, and then it went to the Patriots. Then you'd say to Alabama football, and then obviously to the Chiefs, and then it got to Golden State. And Golden State was the first time I saw the turning of people on teams who win too much.
I think social media plays a big part in that too, because you're actively seeing people's reaction to it, and if enough people say, hey, we hate this thing, you may end up hating that thing too. So I do think that plays a part in wanting something. And again, we have short attention spans. We all do. It's not just kids, it's all of us. So when the same thing's happening over and over again, we're like, can you give me something fresh? The Lions looked like they were maybe kind of opening their window, which maybe has closed as of right now. But we do like things that are new and different that we can kind of sink our teeth into as far as storylines and stuff like that go.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see you just look at the NFL standings right now. The Patriots are 11-2. They lead the AFC. The 1 game over the Broncos. How about that, Jay Phillips? 10-2 are the Broncos. I'd love to see either of those two teams in the Super Bowl. I don't feel like because I've seen them struggle so much lately. It's almost like I don't feel like they're Super Bowl teams, but here they are, 11-2 and 10-2. One of those two, and then have somebody out of the North, the Bears. I know the Packers have constantly been there, but the Rams or the Seahawks. 49ers are also 9-4.
Right.
But I'll be honest, a Bears Patriots revival of '85. They have to wear the throwbacks.
That's right. Do the Super Bowl shuffle.
I'm all for it. Hour 3 on the way, and J.C. Sherbert as well. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market. It is cold outside. That means cooking indoors at night. But you know what? Maybe that means a great soup. And you always heard me talk about the great steaks, the great chicken, the pork chops, all that great stuff that Old Timey Meat Market has. And they still have that. You can go by and get a delicious cut of meat for the weekend. You know what? Just because it's cold doesn't mean you have to stop grilling out. But they make homemade soups that are absolutely delicious, and they have a variety of different types. Go by today and find out for yourself. And with Christmas coming up, let me tell you, if you're in the market for a brand new grill or smoker, Traeger Grills is the way to go. And the Lexington store is your Traeger Grill home. Stop by the Lexington store right in front of Pastime Pavilion, going across number 6, heading toward the dam, and check out their great line of Traeger Grills. That's Old Timey Meat Market. Stop by today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. It is 2 o'clock on your Thursday. Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, Captain David Dare. We'll be joined by J.C. Sherbert coming up in about 15 minutes for a all-encompassing, broad view discussion on South Carolina athletics because, my goodness, Tyler, we really got content for about 6 or 7 days, and it's non-stop as we continue to roll along.
Yeah, this next month is the most fluid time in all of college football because you got staff changes. You're obviously going to make an OC hire. You're going to have guys entering the portals. Again, we got Xavier Hardy that put his name in earlier on today. You'll get guys coming out of the portal coming up here in about a month's time as well. So a lot of things going to be happening. And unfortunately, we're not preparing for a bowl game of any sort. So it'll solely be focused on off the field things for South Carolina football.
Yeah, we're focused on now. Last year we were focused on the field things. We weren't as worried about transfers. I think we were more worried about, all right, who's opting in and who's opting out for bowl practice. And then it was kind of thinking ahead to 2026. And then, all right, well, we're playing Illinois and Citrus Bowl will be a lot of fun. This year, you're going through phases, if you will. You're going through phases. All right, phase 1 is now complete. Phase 1 will, I guess, really be complete in about 58 minutes, probably a little bit longer because I'm sure Landon Duckworth will talk a lot.
Yeah. Because I was on air.
Was it Duckworth who talked so much remember there was a commitment where the coach got up there and talked in the last few weeks?
I don't remember if that was him or not, but we were on air when Julian Walker was announcing this morning, which that was set for 11:45.
Right.
And, of course, I'm constantly refreshing my Twitter and all that kind of stuff, and it didn't really come in till like 11:51 because, again, the principal gets up there, the coach gets up there, mom says something, or, it's kind of the same thing. You got to talk about how great the kid is and what he's done for the school and the community, and then he's got to go up there and thank everyone, and then he tells you where he's going, and that's usually 5, 6, 7 minutes later.
Yeah, I think it was Duckworth. I think I was with Lauren at a Mexican restaurant, and we were watching it, and like I believe it was like a cousin, and then the head coach got hold of the mic, and like South Carolina players were weighing in on the Instagram Live, like, "Yo, bro, get hold of the mic and make the announcement. We know where
Right."
And so I don't know if today at 3 o'clock he will just sign paperwork and smile and take the pictures, or if we'll get a whole redo of what he's about to say. That is now being reported by multiple national people. As a matter of fact, just moments ago, Shane Beamer retweeted Hayes Fawcett of On3 Sports. Hayes Fawcett put out, "What a morning. South Carolina keeps 4-star QB Landon Duckworth in the fold after a late push." And we got the Spurs up emojis, if you will, the fingers, from Shane Beamer 15 minutes ago in a tweet. So I'm assuming...
Yeah, that's probably a good indication.
I'm assuming he now he would be as shocked as all of us should Landon Duckworth at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Coming up here at the top of the hour, make a switch on him.
By the way, I don't know who he acknowledged this yesterday because I forget, it may have been Phil or somebody asked him about the 3 guys today that had yet to sign. And he's like, I can't really talk about it. It's so funny to me, these arbitrary rules, and I get why they're in place, but like the second they sign on the paper, you can talk about them by name, talk about their family, talk about their school, but like until they sign on that dotted line, you have to be like, well, yes, there is a quarterback out there that we are still trying to land, and I can't say him by name or anything like that.
Well, it's why we go back, and it's swept under the rug, and it's water under the bridge, and I don't know, use all the little analogies you want to use. But are we going to actually see something on Mike Loxley and Zion Lee? Because he signed, all right.
He did.
He signed. He signed with Maryland. Mike Loxley stayed.
Yep.
But with all that being said, he did commit a rules violation. Now, these rules are typically like, all right, slap on the hand, pay a small fine, do something.
Yeah, it's one of those things that probably after the season, it'll come out and be like, okay, I don't know, you lose a visit weekend in the summer or something along those lines that for the most part, we don't really pay much attention to. They'll give him something, but yeah, the NCAA, as powerless as it's become, it's not there's not going to be grand sanctions against Maryland for doing this, but it's kind of one of those things that's so funny because I can't really recall any other coaches that have broken the rule, right? I'm sure there have been others, but like he did it. He mentioned the guy by name before he signed in direct reference to basically saying Carolina paid him to come on an official visit here for whatever game that was. And it's like, okay, now what happens? But and not that, like, I don't know what benefit you get from being able to mention guys by name, but if people see like, oh, well, Loxley didn't really get anything for this that's that big of a deal, I'm going to start doing that too.
Yeah.
They're obviously not going to penalize me for it.
Push the gray area as far as you can push the gray area. Look, we've been doing that for years.
Is there a way where you can say, if I'm not allowed to say this guy's name before he signs, that affects his NIL earning potential? Because then you can just sue the NCAA for it, because that's what everybody does.
My thing is not so much that he said his name; it's the accusation on South Carolina that
right. But that's not what they would focus on. They'd focus on him saying his name.
Right. I just, I'd be interested to see as we move through, and maybe something's happened behind the scenes. I don't. Like I said, I want to say it's all kind of been swept under the rug. It's all gone now. But, I mean, Mike Loxley did commit a violation. And so when Shane Beamer's yesterday up there, the funniest one ever, again, was Will Muschamp pursues offensive lineman Javon Gwynn. And Javon Gwynn was down to South Carolina and NC State. And we wondered all day long, is Javon Gwynn going to sign? And then there became rumors, and this is when they had moved the signing period to middle of December. Was Javon Gwynn going to sign, or is he going to wait? What's he going to do? And at that time, he was a four-star offensive lineman and was a big piece of the puzzle for South Carolina and so forth and so on. And we get into the press conference, and all of a sudden, Muschamp's just like, yeah, we signed Javon Gwynn today, and he starts going over his vitals. We're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, y'all didn't put anything out. He didn't put anything out. We know nothing about,
Sure.
that with all the reporters, with all Gamecock Central and Big Spurs and everybody, nobody knew anything. But that's how we'll see how it goes. Again, Julian Walker in the boat. Now, what makes this interesting is it continues to show. We got J.C. Sherbert coming up here in about 10 minutes. Your typical record doesn't influence your recruiting. It can to an extent. There's two ways to look at this. South Carolina has now 15 commitments. That counts Landon Duckworth. By 24/7 Sports Standard, their composite rankings, South Carolina has the 20th class ranked by their composite standards. However, if you were to average the players that are committed and you were to average their grade ranking, South Carolina would have the number 9 class.
Right. They
would be behind LSU. LSU has 15 commitments, and they've got a very high grade, 93.69. Alabama would be 2 at 93.44. Oregon's at 3. Notre Dame's at 4. Texas A&M's at 5. Ohio State's at 6. Southern Cal's at 7. Georgia's at 8. And if you were to do it, I don't know what to make of this. You can say, well, Bill's spinning things. Well, that's fine. Say it. I'm biased. I've admitted I'm biased. But if you're looking at a quality of class, South Carolina's class is a really strong one in terms of quality. It's just not deep, which is going to allow them to go to the transfer portal to get guys that better be able to help immediately next year get back to 8 or 9 wins.
Yeah, and again, Beamer talked about the quality over quantity thing and all that, and you're right. The record for a year doesn't have a direct influence on who you sign and all that kind of stuff. If anything, especially for a year like this where, again, we got sick of him saying it, but, Beamer says, hey, you're so close. If two or three things go differently in the Alabama game and the Missouri game and the Clemson game, then you win those games and your record's vastly different. And your easy selling point on that is looking at a recruit and say, hey, if I insert you into this, we win that game. You're the missing piece on the offensive line, in the secondary, at quarterback, whatever it may be. You can sell that and say, hey, if you were out there, this is what would happen.
Well, that's the story on Cliff Matthews. With Steve Spurrier back in the day, Cliff Matthews was going to Georgia.
Yep.
He was set to commit to Georgia, and they got him to hold off, and then Cliff Matthews visited on a Thursday night for the South Carolina-Auburn game. And for those of you that remember that lovely, lovely night where Kenny Irons still had a big game, but South Carolina couldn't get the ball away from Auburn in the third quarter. Auburn scored, kicked an onside kick, got the ball, held the ball for the entire third quarter. And then Jared Cook had a drop late in the game that I think would have tied the game, if I remember correctly. And that was also the game where South Carolina fans clapped after the game as the team was coming off the field, and Steve Spurrier admonished the fans after the game, so we don't clap for losing around here.
Yeah. But
after the game, it's well documented that in the locker room post game, Spurrier, well-known recruiter, well-known man of trying to recruit people, went over to Cliff Matthews and said, if you were on the team this game, we win that game because you would have made a play, you would have made a sack that would have gotten us the ball back against Auburn tonight, and we would have won that game. And I think Auburn was number 2 in the country or something, and he said we would have had that marquee win. That's why you're needed here, and it's well documented. Cliff Matthews, I've heard him say it, and I've heard people around him, that it was at that moment that Cliff Matthews went, I'll be a Gamecock. I think he committed a week or two later. And basically, but it was because of that moment in that game and a loss. And there's also a great story about A.J. Green. Years ago, you would know the year. A.J. Green, growing up in Summerville, was a huge Georgia fan. He was going to go to Georgia regardless. So he goes to Georgia, and they're playing Alabama in one of the blackout games. And it went ugly. Do you remember this?
So his freshman year was 08.
Okay, so 07-ish, 06.
Because they played at Alabama in 07, so he wouldn't have been at
Because it might have been
game.
06.
It might have been 06.
All right, but if you remember, it was a night game.
Yeah.
I've heard the guys, I think it's Rusty Manziel tells the story, and I've heard A.J. Green tell the story as well. They go over there. It's a night game. Georgia wears their black jerseys. They paint the field black. And anyway, Nick Saban and Alabama just demolished Georgia. And it's 35-0 at halftime.
Yep.
It was 35-0 at halftime. And at halftime, A.J. Green said, we need something positive. Now, he's a recruit in the stands. He called Rusty Manziel during halftime and said, put it out. I'm committed to Georgia. And he has specifically said, I did that at the time because I didn't want Georgia fans thinking this one game influenced my decision. He made his decision right then, and he put it out publicly so that during the game, Georgia fans would be like, oh, well, we got stomped, but
right.
We're getting a top 10 player in the country here who was just here for this environment.
Yeah, I'm looking to see what exactly game that was because, again, he played on that blackout game in 2008, but you're in the right ballpark of when that would have occurred.
I've seen the story. I've heard him tell it before, and maybe JC remembers it. Anyway, 803-404-6100. We will catch up with JC Sherbert when we come back. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Committed in October of 2026. Or, excuse me, 2006. That's the story I've always heard. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, and First Palmetto Bank. Let me tell you something. Jacob has helped me previously. Just about 5 years ago, he helped get a great interest rate on my condo on Lake Murray, and he is ready to do that for you. He's been in business for 20 years, helping families just like yours and mine, whether you're looking to buy, whether you're looking to build, maybe you're looking to refinance, or maybe you've been looking around the house this holiday season. You're like, we really need to remodel this particular portion of the house, and we got to get a loan. Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank can help you do that, but you've got to make the phone call. You can't sit around expecting him to call you. You have to call him. That is, unfortunately, the way it works. So listen closely, write down the phone number, and call the Mortgage Guru today. 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. He's the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. It is 2:18 on a Thursday, getting you set for the weekend coming up tomorrow. But joining us now, good buddy of the program, good buddy of mine, and a guy. Nope, we don't have him yet. Okay, all right. Dave will get to him in just a minute. All right, well, J.C. Sherbert will join us here in just a second, and we'll get to him. Again, if you missed the news today, Julian Walker officially in the boat. Well, has committed to South Carolina. We were waiting on the paperwork. Gamecocks have not officially released it. They will do that later this afternoon. And coming up in roughly 40 minutes, Landon Duckworth, I don't know if he's having a ceremony or I don't know if he is just signing paperwork or whatever it is the kids do these days, all these old crazy kids. But whatever he's doing should occur roughly at 3 Eastern time. And then that, I guess you never say never, would wrap up the recruiting class. All right, now we got him on the line, a guy who's up there in the Midwest who we had Eric Edholm on earlier, JC, and I talked to somebody who was in Wisconsin, and they said it was about 3 degrees. It sounds like you're in cold weather up there.
Yeah, just a little bit, but nah, it's not that bad. Yeah, I was staying warm inside, and it's an inside day, but the sun's shining, so that always makes it a little warmer. But yeah, I've been glued to a computer just about all day for the last 24 hours, so I haven't even noticed.
Well, we'll get you off the computer. We'll get you on the phone here. Obviously, let's start with the good and get your thoughts. The news this morning breaking: Marquell Blackwell out as running backs coach. Julian Walker flips his commitment. We'll get Landon Duckworth news in about 40 minutes. Give me your take on those 3 things. Well,
with Blackwell, I mean, I would be remiss to say I didn't, I hadn't heard anything definitive about it, but certainly felt like it was a possibility. I don't, digging too much into it. I think they need more production from that spot. I think, when you kind of look at the big picture, there were some things about the running back rotation that, I think a lot of people had some questions about. And then, you got to recruit your position and land players and make sure your room's good. And he replaced a guy that did not do a good job of that. And, I think that's kind of just what Beamer's looking at. And, you have a chance to go upgrade at that spot with who you hire. So that's just kind of the business these days, and that happens. So, that's another change. So that's 3 out of the 5 offensive coaches that started the season will not return, including the coordinator. So when you have a year like you had on offense, change is bound to happen, and it looks like Beamer's being proactive to make sure he optimizes the staff.
In this situation, do you think it's more Beamer's call on his running backs coach or more whom he hires as his OC that would maybe make the call on the running back coach?
Well, I'm not going to rule out the coordinator bringing a guy with him, but I do want to be clear about this, and I've been saying this for a while. When Coach Spurrier was here, when there was a defensive coordinator hire, he tended to kind of just let those guys hire whoever they want. And that worked out well, and it didn't work out so well for him. But he was an offensive guy. It was, you just got to handle you're the head coach of the defense, you go handle the defense. Shane Beamer's obviously more of a head coach, so nobody's going to get a job here without Beamer signing off on it. I think that, sometimes when you have a season like that, people are mad at the head coach. They want to strip him of all his decision-making power, right? I think there's a little bit of that at play, but certainly I think it's possible that a new coordinator, if he has a running backs coach that he likes, he's comfortable working with, that knows the system, sure, that guy could be in play. Wouldn't surprise me at all, but, let's just be clear. Shane Beamer's going to make that hire. He's not going to hire somebody just to kind of say, I'm handing everything over to the OC, and he's kind of the head coach of this. Shane Beamer's the head coach, and he'll make that decision.
J.C. Sherbert joining us from the Big Sur. He wraps up a busy afternoon doing his shows and now hopping on with us for a few minutes. You and I have talked about this before, and I think this is the definition Hale McGranahan on the BigSpur.com put up. South Carolina has the number 20 class according to 24/7 Sports Composite, but if you were to do it by grade ranking, if you were to do it by the average star ranking and that grade that comes with it, South Carolina would have the number 9 class overall in the country. Do you consider this one of the best classes the Gamecocks have ever signed?
I think it's certainly high quality. It's kind of like the 2024 class was small on numbers from the high school ranks as well, and it had a lot of quality in it too. A lot of really good players in that class. But, certainly, when you sign the number 1 offensive guard prospect in America, you sign 4 out of the top 5 in the state. You sign the number 1 player from Virginia. You get 3 blue chippers out of North Carolina. And a 4-star top 10 quarterback in Landon Duckworth, assuming he does sign as has been reported. That's a pretty good haul. I mean, you've got, it's low in numbers, so it's not going to rank very high according to the algorithm, but that average composite rating is up there with, some of the best programs in America. So I think that Darren Usher and the recruiting staff, Sam Searby and the Searby and those guys did a great job. It's not easy to hold on to commits when you have a season like they had. So it takes work. It takes strategy. It takes, just a lot of pouring into the players and their families through what is a tough time on the field. So sometimes with the off-the-field stuff, you have to overcome adversity just like you do on the field. And I feel like they did that pretty well. Losing Julian Walker and Tamarian Watkins from within the state, that wouldn't have been pleasant, in my opinion, because, you say, well, it's just 2 guys, JC. Yeah, it is. But if you get in the habit of that, you start losing 2 or 3 or 4, and you're losing to the schools other than Clemson or maybe a Georgia, that kind of opens the borders a little bit. And South Carolina, since Spurrier was here, has done a really good job of getting the majority of the top prospects from within the state. I think it's something that makes the program great. Or makes the job great, is that you have this access to talent and kids that want to go there. So I think it was big flipping him back. I think it was, not to mention edge is a position they need to keep restocking on. It's a very important position. Everybody needs pass rushers, and Walker's a heck of a prospect. So I thought that was a great way to end it with a cherry on top, so to speak. And it's another good class, and, now it's on to retention and the portal.
Real quick. I got about 3 minutes left with you, and I want to get to 2 questions. That edge group that you talk about right now could have Dylan Stewart, Desmond Umizulu. I don't know what the status of Jaylen Brown is, and now you add Julian Walker. It feels like that has the potential to be one of the best group of edges South Carolina's ever put on the field.
Yeah, and I expect them to target an edge in the portal, too, and a good one. You got Anthony Addison and Quay Dodd, who redshirted this year, waiting in the wings, too. They're going to be good players. But, yeah, it should be a pretty good group. Again, it's very important. 2 years ago in 2023, I wouldn't say Carolina was, anywhere but bottom third of the SEC at that spot. And you saw Kennard and Stewart come in, how that changed things. And then that spot opposite Dylan, Brian Thomas thrived in it this year. So, it's very important to get great players there, especially when they're within your state. The state of South Carolina has low bust rates with defensive linemen. And so, yeah, it was big. And the defensive line and the entire defense, the outlook there, Bill, is probably cycling back up just from a talent perspective and difference maker perspective.
About a minute with you. Your expectation on when we get this offensive coordinator announcement tomorrow, maybe, or you think it's first of next week?
I think it could be tomorrow. I'm anxiously awaiting that, just like everyone else. I would love for it to be tomorrow, but it may bleed into next week, Monday or something. The news may break over the weekend. You know how that goes sometimes with agents and things like that. But I would just, if I'm a Gamecock fan, keep your eyes on the internet. That's where it'll be the first time, and we'll see. But I do think they're kind of, as Beamer said, moving toward a good hire, and my guess is it's probably going to make people happy.
You got a leader in the clubhouse you want to share with us real quick?
Yeah, I don't know. People are talking about Kevin Decker from Old Dominion, and he's a guy I personally really like his system and what they do. It's a lot like Tennessee's offense with some modifications, and they run the quarterback. But any of the names you've seen floating out there would be fine for me. I told everybody I don't care as long as it's a system that's been proven and a college-style offense. How about that?
JC, we always appreciate it. I know it's been a long 48 hours for you dating back to yesterday, and you need some rest. I look forward to catching up with you in the near future, and thank you for taking just a few minutes to join us today.
You're the man, Bill. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Good talking to you. JC Sherbert, and he's right. Stay glued to thebigspur.com as we await this offensive coordinator news. Kevin Decker, certainly now the name that appears to be starting to rise to the top of the list, and we'll see. We will see if that is indeed the guy. 803-404-6100. We'll come back and get some more thoughts on what's occurred today. You're listening to The Halftime Show.
At the end of the day, where I'll be spending my next 3 to 4 years, University of South Carolina.
The official announcement of defensive end Julian Walker this afternoon as he flips his commitment from Michigan to the University of South Carolina. And talking with J.C. Sherbert there, Tyler, and to kind of recap and also to throw in the tweet that I put out earlier. It's funny, a year ago, so it was December 6th. It was a Friday night. You can go to my Twitter, at Will, W-I-L, Gunner, G-U-N-T-E-R, and you can see the video. This was a video that I shot, and I reposted. This is not the tweet from last year, but I reposted it today. And it is Shane and Sean Elliott with Patrick Davis singing Wagon Wheel, and they're smiling.
Yep.
And they're happy.
Vibes are great, man.
And the crowd is having a great time, and Darius is having a great time, and South Carolina's 9-3, and you've beaten Clemson, and Lenora Sellers is the future stud of college football, and the world is our oyster.
Felt that way.
And now on December 4th, 2025, 1,000,001 questions, but I don't know if you ever win post 4-8. I don't know how you what you do, but I guess if you're going to say that Shane Beamer has been able to win this week and at least curb the negative momentum, he's done it. Is that, and yes, I asked that by raising my voice at the end of the question. Has he's kept his class together. He didn't lose anybody.
Didn't lose anybody. Again, all signs point to Duckworth committing in about 20-ish minutes. So that would wrap up. That'd be, he's already on the list.
He's still a commitment.
He's still in the commitment,
making it
so,
official.
Yeah, that would make it 15 again. Carson Baker committed to A&M, so that doesn't add to it. But of the three guys who went into today saying, hey, they could possibly go to Carolina, looks like you're going to land two of them. Again, numbers-wise and total of the class doesn't add up to the teams at the very top. But when you look at that average rating that you've been bringing up, it's very comparable to the other ones, and it would put you inside the top 10. So it's not the deepest class in terms of numbers, but the quality of it is good. So I think this week, as far as the signing period is going, it can go about as good as you can, as it could have gone. Right now, yeah, if you went out there and signed 5 stars, that'd be a different story, but that wasn't on the table. For what you had and what you had available to you that you could have realistically gotten this week, you went out there and got it done, which is the most important thing. And you didn't lose a bunch of guys. A bunch of guys didn't look at it and say, okay, well, Carolina went 4-8 and they fired Shula, let's jump off the ship. You kept your class together, and it does seem like it's a very solid group. Yeah,
despite, and take this for what it's worth, I just, again, haven't done recruiting. Despite what the fan base may say and what the fan base may think, this is obviously a group of players that believes in Shane Beamer and says, well, he's going to be around.
Right.
Now, last year, South Carolina signed 26 players. They had 26 players enroll. It was a larger class. We'll see how some of those guys continue to play out. We saw from some of them this year, some of them we didn't see. Let me actually just check on something here as I do. I think it's 26, but I see 18 transfers. Because I say that because you got 15 guys, Tyler, that you look at and you go, okay, well, we love these 15.
Yeah.
And maybe you're looking at them in guys like Walker and Xavion Currents and maybe Darius Gray, maybe even a Zion Giles, a Sequel Patterson, even though I think wide receivers in a good position. You're looking at them going, all right, we got impact guy. I don't know if you – I don't label it that. Let me be very clear. I did a podcast on that last night, and I was very clear yesterday. I don't know what the number of impact guys in year one is on this particular commitment list. Xavion Currents is the guy that I expect to start right off the bat.
Beamer mentioned him having an it factor, so they're high on him.
Well, like I said yesterday, here we go. We're about a month away from mock draft season, right?
Right.
Like true mock draft season.
Yes.
And so what do you get with Jalen Kilgore? What do you get with Judge Collier? I mean, South Carolina secondary either returns a bunch of veterans next year in Kilgore, Collier, and Cisse, or it feels like it's a brand new secondary and you're replacing all of them. And DQ Smith is gone because of, we assume, again, eligibility requirements.
Right. The COVID year, that's done with.
I assume.
I think you've cycled all those guys out finally. So, yeah.
We'll find out in February or something.
DQ Smith has played 4 solid years at Carolina. He shouldn't have any more eligibility left.
But my point on that is, like, you look at that secondary. So I see where Jazavion Currents, 6'3.5", 205, comes in, and they instantly look at him and like, okay, you're the starter back there.
Yeah.
It's safety. It's safety. Julian Walker will have a chance to come in very early. It does not tell me that he is enrolling early. We'll check on that. Wes or Chris can maybe answer that tomorrow.
Because I know 9 of the 14 yesterday, I believe, are coming in early.
Okay.
And I'm sure they'll put out a full list of that, here soon. But ideally, hopefully he can, but we don't know. Because, again, you want to get that development process started. Because, again, with what you're losing in the edge room, assuming Dylan Stewart's coming back, that opposite spot seemingly wide open. Brian Thomas Jr. filled that spot this year. I don't know who that person is next year, but that option is there.
Well, you heard me say that. This is interesting because it is all potential. It is entirely potential. Nobody has done a single thing. Now, Desmond Umazulu played better at the end of the season.
Yes.
He was finally coming along. But what I'm going to say is entirely based on potential and not based on anything that we have seen with our own eyes. But if you look at recruiting rankings and you look at everything that is on paper and not on field, South Carolina is a legitimate 4 deep at the defensive end position.
Yes.
With now Julian with Dylan Stewart, okay, we know what he's done. He's proven. But your other 3 that you go opposite, Umazulu's been in the program for a while. It's his time. If you want to be dead honest, there's nobody who has a more important spring than Umazulu to step up and gain that spot. Right?
Yeah.
Jalen Brown comes back, and they were very excited about him. They thought he was going to be the Kyle Kennard replacement. And if he's coming back from whatever injury, ACL or lower body or leg or knee or foot, I don't know, toe.
He's got a body.
Whatever it is. He should be back for the spring. And now you add Julian Walker. And again, at least 24/7 Sports does not tell me whether he's enrolling early. It doesn't have the little symbol next to his name that indicates that. And then JC did mention Anthony Addison, and they also liked, I believe it's Kobe Sai-Pry or Kobe
Saki Pra.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They liked him, and he tore his ACL. For some reason, we got to get to know that information, but not the Jalen Brown information. But it's not a lack of bodies, but it's a lack of somebody stepping up. And you mentioned Byron Thomas Jr., who really came on this year and will go down maybe as one of the more underrated Gamecocks because they were 4-8.
Yeah.
And we worried about a lot of other things.
Yeah, no, he didn't have the same flash as what Kennard did a year ago, but he took advantage of the attention paid to Dylan Stewart and ends up, leading the team in sacks and all that kind of stuff, which is exactly what you were hoping somebody did. And again, you went 4-8, so it doesn't quite have the shine that what Kennard did a year ago, but that's another glaring hole that you're leaving behind on the defense. You're going to have to fill either with guys you already have on the roster or, and I'm assuming, I think JC said this earlier, you got to go out and get at least one guy at edge in the portal.
Get an experienced guy,
and then hope some of these younger guys come along, can rotate in and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you're going to be very busy in the portal at quite a few spots coming up in January.
803-404-6100. We'll come back and wrap it up and look ahead to Thursday night. Hockey. That's right. I said it. Hockey. Because what else are you going to watch? Stranger Things? We'll figure it out. We'll talk to Tyler about it. You're listening to the Halftime Show. All right, first Thursday night since August. No college football, Tyler Head. But guess what? We still got some television you can watch.
That's right.
All right, I'm going to give you a couple options here. Lions, Cowboys is going to be really good, I think.
Yes, I will definitely watch that.
Okay. Women's basketball tonight. Let me get my sheet here. Where do we have this on?
B1067.
Okay, we will have. So for those of you wondering, listen tightly to this. Listen very closely, because I then see the text messages the next day and I see the message boards. The women's game tonight will be on B106.7. It's kind of that home away from home station for them. They play Louisville, part of the SEC ACC Challenge.
I think Louisville's 22nd in the women's standings. They're in the top 25.
3 and 22, I believe. 3 versus 22, I believe, is what I've seen. Let me repeat this. For those of you looking for the women's game tonight, B106.7, it will be at 63. It'll be at 6:30 will be the pregame, 7 o'clock tip time. All right, so we got that. So you got that going for you tonight.
Yes.
Then you got hockey.
Yeah, all the men's SEC ACC Challenge ended last night.
Right.
So now we're getting the women's stuff.
And you got the Hurricanes, and they host the Maple Leafs, and that's where I go with hockey. I couldn't tell you the rest of the schedule if you were like, well, hey, what's the rest of the schedule? I don't know. I do know the Hurricanes play against the Maple Leafs in Raleigh tonight.
Can also get into some Christmas movies.
I have gone down a path. Yesterday, I broke slight tradition. Normally, I do not watch A Christmas Story until the marathon starts. I feel like I get my complete fulfillment of Ralphie and the bunny costume and all of that, the leg lamp and everything.
Shooting your eye out.
On Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with the marathon, I feel like I can cover everything then. Couldn't help it yesterday at 5 o'clock on TNT leading into last night's hockey stuff. They put it on, and I thought, you know what? Going to break a little tradition here. I'm going to go ahead and get one viewing in to start December.
That's fair. Let's see. We watched, because we're kind of watch a movie with dinner type of thing. We watched Christmas Vacation on Monday.
Okay, fair.
Fair. I mean, that's the ultimate kickoff.
They had a huge marathon on Sunday. I got a lot of that.
Well, and here's the thing. You got to watch the, non-edited TV version to get the full effect.
Yeah.
And then last night, we watched Fred Claus. You ever seen that?
I have.
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, and he's the brother, and he's angry. And
it's pretty good.
What is the actor that plays Santa?
Paul Giamatti. Kevin Spacey's in it. It's a pretty good cast. And I had seen parts of it before, but I'd never sat down and watched the whole thing. But I like Vince Vaughn. I'm like, oh, it's pretty good.
Not bad. It's not bad.
It was good. It was
worth it. It's worth it. We might have to do that next week. Underrated Christmas, like Christmas with the Cranks.
Good one, yeah. Four Christmases, personal favorite of mine.
What's the one that I actually didn't like? The one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not.
Oh, Jingle All the Way.
Yeah. That one's okay.
Listen, Arnold made a lot of movies. Not all of them are great. When you get outside Terminator, you're picking and choosing a little bit. Kindergarten Cop, Jingle All the Way, all those things.
Tom Arnold was great in that movie, by the way.
Who was that?
Tom Arnold.
In Jingle All the Way?
Yeah, I know Arnold Schwarzenegger, but Tom Arnold was in that too. Maybe the funniest scene in movie history.
I didn't think we would mention Arnold Schwarzenegger today, but I was on Instagram the other day, and I came across a Danny DeVito interview, and he talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger being at a party in the 80s out in L.A. where there was a white substance, if you will.
As most parties in L.A. had, and probably still do.
And apparently they had spelled out everybody's name in the white substance. And Schwarzenegger was like walking around bragging, and DeVito's doing his impression of Schwarzenegger, because I guess apparently it was like right after they did Twins, I believe.
Yes.
And it was Schwarzenegger saying, "Look how big it is, Danny. Look how big my name is." And Danny DeVito's like, "Yeah, buddy. Good luck with that. That's cool."
You know, it snows in LA a lot.
Didn't think about that until the Schwarzenegger thing. But tonight you can get into all that. So I will also say the Stranger Things. Did you get into the Stranger? Have you gotten into?
So I watched. I want to say the first 2 or 3 seasons.
Okay.
But then when it took so long, between seasons, I kind of just fell out of favor with it. I watched the first couple, and they were good. It's actually filmed out where I'm from. Like all that stuff is filmed in the area where I'm from, so I'm familiar with a lot of it. But yeah, I never really picked it back up about halfway through.
I watched the first of however they're doing it, the 5 episodes that came out on Thanksgiving, and then the second installment on Christmas, and then I guess the final movie or whatever. So it might also be a night for the second part of Stranger Things. But coming up at 7 o'clock, again, reminder, if you're looking for it on the radio, B106 will be Louisville and South Carolina. Interesting game for the Gamecocks tonight in Don Staley's group. They're not the dominant alpha team anymore. That's what I'm taking away from the season. They're good.
Sure.
They're one of the best teams in the country. They're fully capable of winning the national championship. This isn't. They just went from being the alpha team now to one of a handful of really good teams.
Yeah, and how does a loss like Texas kind of bring you back down to earth a little bit and make you better? We've seen that in years past. Losing sometimes early in the season to a good team makes you better, and we'll see if that's the same case for Don Staley's crew tonight. Well,
they had set such a high bar for so many years that a few losses, and we're all like, "What happened?" Well. They're just now one of a handful of really, really, really good teams that are championship level. We'll be back tomorrow. Y'all have a great rest of the afternoon.
Post-game show, Terry Ford hanging out. We'll see if we get a chance to talk with our co-host, our buddy Jay Phillips, today or not. We will find out as we go through the afternoon. If we do, fantastic. If we don't, we got a ton of stuff to talk about. Absolutely. It's an interesting day. We've seen South Carolina get a flip, a nice flip. Julian Walker, 4-star edge from Dutch Fork, is now a South Carolina Gamecock.